Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. I'll take these off. Welcome. We are doing player ratings. We haven't done this in a long time. So I promised you guys that I would try to figure out a way to come on to the show after the football terrace so that, I'm giving you guys a little bit of like an instant reaction type of thing. So we haven't done this in a while, but I thought we could do player ratings. That's fun. Gives us an opportunity to talk about a lot of the players and their individual performances and give a little bit of rating. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will go ahead and get into it. Tony says, SKA post-match show, hell yeah. C. Wilder says, highlights on sports, Sky Sports right now, by the way. C. Wilder also says, holy mackerel, I've just seen Rambo save at the end. Clean sheets are so important. We have back-to-back clean sheets, and even though, we were obviously going to win the game, from my perspective, it's important to maintain your commitment to defensively and stuff like that. And I think Ramsdale really showed that. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Sin Kanati says, Jess, intro goes in. I love like an intro with a little bit of music. Like that's me. And he says, hey, hi, Jess, beautiful. Get hail. Oh, greetings from Poland, Warsaw. Well, thank you for tuning in from Poland. I love that. Do you know anything about Kiwior? If you're from Poland, do you know anything about Kiwior? Like, we're just waiting on him to play, but you have any inside scoop on our new left-sided center back? Let me know. C. Wilder says, Dyche before the game, I told the players that because we haven't scored in a while means we are statistically likely soon. That may be true, but never let your players hear that, dude. I mean, they had like one little chance, but that was pretty much it. We pretty much like, kind of like Leicester as well. We were so good defensively, and we're so organized and together and singing from the same hymn sheet in that way. It made it so difficult for them to even conjure up anything until the very end of the game. So yeah, you weren't scoring, buddy. But how good does it feel to beat Everton after the game a couple of weeks ago? I think that game was kind of damaging to the psyche a little bit, just because it felt like it was coming because of the narrative around the new manager bounce and all the statistics around Sean Dyche being really good against Arsenal and our bad record at Goodison Park, our bad record against Everton, period. And so having that game kind of unfold the way that it did, losing 1-0, we owed them a spanking. We really did. And I think also because it was our game in hand, there was like all this extra feeling around it where it's like we have to win this game because the narrative around Everton was poor and we owe them a beating, but also because it's the game in hand. And with that, we go 5 points clear, which gives us a decent little buffer going into the tail end of the season where everything is going to get a lot more heightened. There's going to be a lot more pressure and blah. So excited that we were able to get the 3 points today. And if you just watch the second half, it seems like it was a very easy win for Arsenal. But I do think we had to like kind of work through the gears to get things going. I think in the first 30 minutes, we didn't have a shot on goal. We were now looking back, if you're honest, it wasn't a great first 30 minutes, but we just needed that initial breakthrough. And that breakthrough came from none other than our star boy and Bukayo Saka. And then from there, it was smooth sailing. So a really good 3 points there from Arsenal. So we're going to go through some of these performances because I think there's some things to chit chat about. We'll start from the back. Ramsdale, I thought distribution was good, kept things simple, didn't have a lot to do, but when he was called upon to make a save, he made a save on Dwight McNeil's shot. He also made a save at the very end to keep the clean sheet. And I think it was an all-around good game from Ramsdale. Just he didn't have a lot to do, but the things that he had to do, he got them right. And so I'm going to give Ramsdale a 9. That might seem a little bit high because he didn't have a lot to do, but he kept the clean sheet and he did what he had to do. So you guys let me know what you think about Ramsdale in the chat. For me, it was a 9. Like, I don't know. I could give him an 8 because it wasn't that much to do, but at the same time, the save for Dwight McNeil's shot and also the end makes me think that he deserves a little bit more than just a lower score. Let's see what you guys are saying. Go ahead and get your ratings in here, you guys. That's the only way that it's fun, is if you guys do it as well. I'll actually write mine on the banner so that you guys can see what I put. I'll put an 8.5 just because the more I'm thinking about it, it might have been just a little bit of an easy game for him. But yeah, Rams gets an 8.5 for me. 2 clean sheets. John P says 8. Helicopter School says Ramsdale's reflexes are epic. Don 1 says 8.5. Abscess says I said 6 because he didn't do a lot. No, I hear that. Solomon says 8.5. Marcus says 8 for Ramsdale. Not much for him to do. Exactly. So, and Sin says 8. So yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like, there wasn't much for him to do, but at the same time, the things that he had to do, he got them right. And that's super important, you know. The next player we're going to talk about is Ben White. I think it was a decent performance from him. I think, you know, he didn't really stand out to me. So on a rewatch, I'd have to like go back and see what I like. You know, sometimes you don't, the performance doesn't really stand out, but I think he was good. Again, didn't have a lot to do. They didn't really have too much of an attack, but I think on the right-hand side, they really tried to stifle the right-hand side a lot. So they had a lot of numbers on that side. And I think it took a while for Saka to really get going. And Ben White was a little bit lost over there on that side. Ødegaard, I think a little bit too. This is the first 30 minutes, by the way. The left-hand side had more space, but I think we weren't really utilizing that space well and acting quickly in that first half. So Ben White, for me, I'm going to give him a 7.5. Because I don't really remember what he did, but I want to be fair to him anyway. So I'm going to give Ben White a 7.5. I don't really remember what he did, y'all. I really don't. Abscess says Benny was quite good, 6. Jack Stone says the whole team was man of the match. The African boy says few mad passes, so 6.5 for Benny. Sin says he put some great crosses in. Boy says 7 for White. Solomon says 7. Don 1 says White 7.5. He was solid. African boy says 6.5 for White. Yeah, so he did some good. He was kind of meh, like the rest of the team in the beginning. Is what it is. Like, you know, he can't always be, you know, amazing, but you know, it is what it is. Next, we'll talk about Saliba. I think he had a really good performance. I think on the ball, I want to go back and watch his performance because I think some of the passes that he made really highlighted why we love Saliba so much. I mean, obviously he's a great defender and does that part well, but his passing is so good. He has like a 95% pass completion, but he doesn't always just use the safe passes. Like a lot of his passes out to the wing to Saka and in between the lines are really good. And I think he was him and Gabriel as a partnership were really good today. But Saliba, you know, especially even aerially was quite good. He was winning a lot of the headers and, you know, getting a lot of distance on them. And I thought he had a really good performance as well. So I'm going to give Saliba an 8. I think he was good, very solid, and a much better performance this time around against Everton than he did the first time around at Goodison Park. Let's see. There you go. 8 for Saliba. BroPro says Saliba 8.5. Dominant in the air and very composed in build-up. Sin says a solid 8. Abscess says Saliba gets an 8. He won every aerial duel. I think he was winning it all. I think so as well. Amir says Saliba an 8. Don 1 says an 8. Yeah, I think it was a really good performance from him. Boy says 8 for Saliba. Yeah, I think it's what you want to see from Saliba. No mistakes, confident on the ball, winning his aerial duels, defensively solid, like making good decisions. Like that's what you want to see from Saliba. That's what you expect. Jorge says 8. Solomon says an 8 makes sense. Good judgment. John P says a 9. Exactly. I I love Saliba. Hold on, you guys. You guys are saying I'm too close up, so let me just do that. That should be better. So I'm not like up here, but like up back here. All right. But also I can't see because I don't have my glasses on. So deal with it. All right. So let's go with Gabriel next. First of all, what a couple of performances from Gabriel. Let's just talk about that for a second. I think, he made a couple of key interventions. He made a really good tackle, I think, early in the first half. He was on it, won all of his duels, was good on the ball, was composed. I mean, he has been, over the last 3 games, I think, excellent. And Gabriel's the type of player that doesn't ever really get the recognition that he deserves, and I'm not sure if it's just because his name isn't Saliba or what, but he's just improving, and he's been really, really good since he signed his new deal. I've been saying that for a while now, and I just think he deserves his flowers because when he first came to the team, like I think he's a little bit forgotten as well because that first transfer window under Mikel Arteta in the COVID season, we had Thomas Partey that came in. That was like the marquee signing. And then we signed Willian on a free. And then the other signing was Gabriel. And it wasn't a great season. And so there wasn't a lot of highlighting of him during that time. Then the next season, we had like a big transfer window where we brought in 6 players, and it's almost like he's forgotten, but he's getting so much better and he's still not even in his prime. So Gabriel was great today. I'm actually going to give Gabriel a 9 because I think he deserves it. So yeah, Gabriel was fantastic today. Absis says 8.5 for that tackle against Mopé was amazing. C. Walder says Gabby in the team is in team of the year material. He says Gabriel is a 10 for me. Don One says he's a beast. I agree. Boy says 9 for Magalhães. He's gonna be criminal if he's not in the next Brazil squad. I think he took that personal, to be honest. And at the time, I thought it was just maybe a little bit of like they just like Bremer better, but for Gabriel to get called up all those times and then not actually make the team, I think that might have left a sour taste in his mouth. And that's what you want to do is when you're left out of a team or you feel like you've been treated poorly, you make a statement with your playing and what you do on the pitch. You don't talk, you show with actions. And that's what he's doing. And so he better get called up because he deserves it. John says Gabriel is truly coming into his own. 8 for him. Bro Pro says Gabriel is so good when he has to intercept the opponents on the opponent. Gabriel is so good when he has to interpret the opponents on the opposition half. He's reading the game is top today. I agree. The African Boy says our best CB this season after a couple mistakes early on, 9. That's the thing. It's like, players make mistakes and, I do think Gabriel has moments, sometimes, but everybody does. But I think the pros outweigh the cons with Gabriel 100%, and I've always felt that way. So the less that we see the mistakes, the more often we get to just fully enjoy how good of a player he is. And you see slowly cutting those mistakes out. And we're starting to really see the player that we bought, and 25 to 27 million, I think it was for Gabriel, is a freaking steal, 100%. Jacan says the decision to keep David Luiz around to groom Gabriel is now paying dividends. I agree with that. I think he really benefited from playing under David Luiz for that season, and I really agree with that. I think that was an underrated move by Arteta. Matt says, Gabby, I think following Saliba's example, has taken his composure to another level in his overall game with it since the World Cup. 100%. So yeah, for me, Gabriel gets a 9. May seem really high, but I just feel like he doesn't get the, flowers that he deserves. And a lot of the times, especially away from home, I think he really keeps that defense ticking and keeps us, competitive back there. And so, yeah, Gabriel was fantastic today. So I think the only person I'm missing in the back line is Zinchenko. He got an assist today. I thought similar struggles as we always kind of have with the low block early on, where Zinchenko's trying to find his feet and trying to find the opening. And the thing about Zinchenko that I think like frustrates people, but I don't think it should frustrate them as much, is he doesn't play like a left back. And so left backs and defenders tend to be a lot more conservative with the way that they play with the ball. He literally plays like a midfielder. And we know that midfielders that try to play the killer pass and try to do things that are not sideways and backwards tend to lose the ball more. And so when it doesn't come off for Zinchenko, it's like, oh my gosh, but he's being asked to do those things. And it came off today with the pass to Saka. I think whose left back is sitting, in the right center mid spot, passing the ball into Saka like that on the outside of the box. I don't really know many players that play like that. And when you take that into consideration and you realize that we're really playing with 3 defenders and we're not playing with, Zinchenko's basically a creative midfielder for us, I think you feel a little bit less like, oh my gosh, our left back is losing the ball. Why is he doing that? Sometimes it does feel like he's forcing it, but I think it's just because he's trying to find the pass and try to work through those, small spaces in between the defenders to find that gap. And sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. For me, as long as Zinchenko, one, is getting back defensively and doing his job there and not forcing pot shots, I'm fine with him trying to find those passes, because at some point he gets it through and it usually helps us get to a goal. So Zinchenko, for me, I think because he got the assist that broke us through and then had a good defensive display and had an all-around good game, I'm going to give him an 8. No, maybe an 8.5. I thought he was really good today. And I also just feel like some people, because, they want to see other players in that position, are trying to find issues with Zinchenko and the way that he plays, almost as if they're not taking into consideration that that's exactly what Mikel Arteta is asking him to do. And he's not playing like a traditional left back, So let's see what you guys are saying here. Absis says 9 for Zinni. That assist for Saka's goal was dirty. I agree. Kevy Kev says hello. Hello there, Jess. Hello to you as well. Gooners and everyone inside the chat. I'm just waiting for you guys to give me the scores for Zinchenko. And while you do, just keep going through the comments. Tony says Zinni is a CM who defends at left back. It's that simple. I agree. Let's see what else you guys are saying. C. Walder says great ping to Eddie. He says 9 for Zinchenko. Exactly. Like, he had a really good game today. Boy says 8 for Zinchenko. Bro Pro says those Zinchenko dribbles today, man, his technical quality is on another level. Yeah, I think he had a really, really good game today. And that assist, like, in the last 3 games, what is it? He has a goal and assist. Like, now we're getting end product from Zinchenko, which is perfect. Rick says 7 for Zinchenko. Couple of influential passes today and love his composure on the ball, especially at the back. Such a silky player. Jay says, did everyone see that slide tackle interception by Ødegaard in the second half? What a baller. We'll get to him in a second. Kevy Kev says Zinchenko 8.5, very good. Exactly. So everybody's kind of in the same ballpark, 8 to 9 with Zinchenko. Matt says 8.5 for Zinchenko. So yeah, we have a really interesting player there that does a lot of really good things for us in that kind of like left midfield area, pops up on the right sometimes. And so, yeah, it's different than what we're used to. But at the same time, like, when you get the benefit from it, you realize how important of a player he is for us, even if he makes the odd mistake. There's 160 of you guys in here, so make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Boy says, still don't grasp how Zinchenko did not fit into Pep's vision. I can only imagine what it was like in the boardroom when they were looking at, Jesus and Zinchenko coming to Arsenal and subsequently being a big part of why we have risen to such a great height this season, and what those conversations look like, because they didn't really even have a left back, which was weird they're obviously Ake is a really talented player and he plays over there, but the guy that they brought in from Anderlecht, they don't really play him. And the Manchester City fans that I talk to don't really think he's that good. And so to let Zinchenko go to us, I think was a little bit of less about Zinchenko and more about them not thinking that we were that great, where Zinchenko would make such a big difference for us. So it was a blind spot on their part, but I'm happy that it happened because I don't think Manchester City are going to be selling us any players anytime soon. I really don't think so. So their loss. All right, moving into midfield. Let's talk about Jorginho. I think he was kind of like the example of what the team was like in that first 30 minutes, where a little methodical on the ball, a little complacent, not really complacent, a little bit unsure. The ball was getting caught underneath his foot. He had a couple of speculative passes. I know he was trying to find the killer ball, but there was just a couple of times where it just wasn't coming off for him. And then I think what was scaring me was that feeling of every time that Decore and Adrisagay and Onana got the ball off of us and he would try to intercept and would miss, or the ball would bobble to them and get into their possession, I felt like we were under so much threat because he was pushed so far forward and was trying so hard to dictate play that we didn't have that kind of like protection there if he missed the ball or missed the interception or got the ball taken off of his toe. And so it wasn't the best display from Jorginho. It wasn't terrible, but it was also just kind of like, okay, well, you are just a certain type of midfielder, and maybe this wasn't the perfect game for him. He was fine. Like, that's what I would say. He was fine. I'm going to give Jorginho a 6. He was not awful, but it was nowhere near the display that we saw against Leicester or Aston Villa. But that's fine because somebody else came in and showed levels. Okay. Absolute levels. Boy says a 6 for Jorginho. Wayne says J20 a 7. I think that's about right. He said 7 for me. Amira says Jorginho 7. I'll give him a pass for today since he wasn't feeling well before the game. So if that's why they took him off, because I didn't see that part, but I was wondering if the substitution for Thomas Partey was pre-planned or not. I didn't think it was an injury, but if he wasn't feeling well, that makes tons of sense because the way that he wasn't moving quickly was so uncharacteristic of him in that first half. So that makes sense, but I still think, yeah, probably about a 6. Rick says, yeah, he was okay. 6 for me. That big physical midfield was a bit of a war zone for him. Marco says 5.5 for Jorginho. Leopold says during the post-match conference, Arteta says Jorginho wasn't feeling well, that's good to hear because 1, he's not injured, and 2, we can kind of chalk that off as him just not feeling well and not like is he just not going to be able to play against these physical midfields? Again, he wasn't awful. He was just a little bit off. Amira says, seemed pre-planned to me. He wasn't playing bad enough for Arteta to take him off at halftime, in my opinion. Exactly. I was actually surprised that he was taken off because it was nowhere near like a terrible performance. And that's why I was like, is he injured? Is it what? So now that we have a reasoning for it, I think it's fine. So we're all in kind of like in the same agreement that it was about a 6, 7 for Jorginho. Nothing awful, but just not, what we're used to from him so far. So yeah, moving forward let's talk about Granit. Here's the thing about Granit. I think lately when we're chasing the goal at 0-0, I find him to be frustrating because of his lack of creativity and his reluctancy to pull the trigger in the final third. And he just doesn't have that same kind of like fluidity or comfortability like in those positions around the box. Once we got ahead, then Granit, the things that he was doing felt a lot more useful, recirculating possession, winning it back, winning fouls, things like that. And I felt the exact same way when we played against Leicester, when we're looking for a goal and we're playing up against a deep block, I desperately want something different in that position. But he still has such useful qualities in game states where we're ahead, or we're trying to see out matches and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of like just the difference right there. But all in all, I think he had a pretty good game. Nothing to be like alarmed by or anything like that. I just find when he's in and around the box on the edges, I don't think he makes the right decisions. And even if he's trying to, he doesn't have the mechanics to do it quick enough. And I find myself being a little bit frustrated with him. So it's not because anything that he's not doing that he could be doing. It's just who Granit is as a player. And we know there's an opportunity to upgrade. But in terms of this game, I'm just going to give Granit a 6.5. I think he was just okay, and it's fine. We know that's the reality of Granit right now, right? Unless you guys disagree. Let me know if you guys disagree in the comments. Let's see. Daniel says nothing fancy, but he's done a good job. 6. I kind of agree with that. Rick says Xhaka made some solid runs into the box, but got ignored on multiple occasions today. But if he was spotted, he would have been on the score sheet. 6.5 for me, but unlucky. I'm going to look at that on the rewatch, because if it's a matter of people not pulling the trigger and not finding him, that's much different than him not, having the nous or the wherewithal to make those runs. But I would say that against, Leicester, I thought when he got into those positions, he wasn't quite doing it. And then even today, I still kind of felt that way a little bit as well. BroPro says, Granit had a solid second half today. He contributed to the Ødegaard goal, 7 in my, he had the pre-assist for that, the Ødegaard goal. So that was nice. Kiro says 7 out of 10. Across the pond says Xhaka 7. Absis says Xhaka is either the most irritating or the most calming player ever. Nothing in between. I think he did well. I give him a 7. Marco says 6.5 for Xhaka. Yeah, we're all around the same, with him. Tony says Granit runs tend to be decoy runs. Amira says Xhaka is 7. Wonder what's happened to the Xhaka that scored against Tottenham earlier in the season. He just has to shoot more. And Across the Pond says slow feed Xhaka. So yeah, we're all kind of on the same page with that one. We won, so we don't have to deep dive into it or anything like that. But we know kind of where we're at with Granit Xhaka. So let's talk about Ødegaard. I thought obviously he got on the score sheet. What I would say about Ødegaard is I think that I prefer Ødegaard when he plays with Thomas Partey than when he plays with Jorginho. And the reason for that is I think in the first half, not only were Everton doing their darndest to keep Saka and Ødegaard from connecting, and they would really put a lot of bodies in that area, but I find Jorginho, because he likes to be pushed right up and he doesn't really when Thomas Partey is playing, he plays a little bit deeper and he just kind of sits in the space in front of the back line, where Jorginho is pushed right up there. And so Ødegaard is kind of in this corner next to Saka. And there's a lot of bodies and a lot of people that want to create and a lot of guys that want to do a lot of things. But you can't all do it, and I find Jorginho being there almost making Ødegaard a little bit redundant, similar to Zinchenko on the same side as Xhaka. I feel like you need different personalities when Zinchenko and Jorginho are dictating play. You need something different. And so I thought Ødegaard kind of struggled in the first half, but obviously grew into the game. And when Thomas Partey came in, I thought he was so much better, because then he had the space to do what he needed to do. Thomas kind of kept it simple, and he did some stuff, but he kept it simple and just kind of won the ball back, give it to Ødegaard, give it to the other players, and they kind of did the thing. And it's a different dynamic. So for me, Ødegaard, happy that he got on the score sheet. I think he had a decent second half, struggled a little bit in the first half. So I'm going to give him a 7.5. I just find the combination of Ødegaard and Jorginho for me to be a little bit of a lot of people trying to do the same things. Maybe I'm the only one seeing it, and maybe I'm imagining it, but that's what it feels like to me. we have such a good balance between Ødegaard, Xhaka, and Partey, and I'm not sure that I feel like the balance is exactly the same when Jorginho is there, although it's not awful. Jay says, to be fair, Everton were in a different team. You tip the first goal, they were solid at the back. Let's see. Rick says Ødegaard played like Fabio Vieira today. The game kind of passed him by, but got on the score sheet in the end. 7. Leslie says Ødegaard 8. Caro says 7.5 for Ødegaard since he bagged the goal. Exactly. If he had not got the goal, I probably would have given him more of like a 6.5. I just didn't think it was his best goal or his best game. Kevy Kev says 8. Ødegaard 8 without the goal, 7. Marco says 7 for Ødegaard. Let's see. Daniel says, I thought Ødegaard was okay. He got his goal, better second half. So yeah, we're all kind of seeing the same thing, which makes me feel like I'm not crazy. Armin says Martin 8. I think he had a good game and was silky, move and enjoy. You enjoyed to watch him. Nelson said, I'd say 7, but goes to an 8 for that filthy slide tackle to Cruyff turn he pulled off. That was when we started really getting into feeling ourselves and stuff like that. And that little slide tackle for Ødegaard was really, really cool. So yeah, nothing to be worried about, but you know how teams try to like do their best to stop our right-hand side and they give the left-hand side more space. I think it's because they're more afraid of Saka and Ødegaard than they are like Martinelli and Xhaka on that side. Not like they're not dangerous players, but it's a little bit different. We know that right-hand side will kill you if you're not on point. And so, yeah, I thought Ødegaard just struggled a little bit, but, got his goal, and that's all that matters. So it is what it is. Moving on to the forward line. Actually, we'll talk about Thomas Partey now before we get away from the midfield. Second half was just absolutely there was a little bit of a moment where I thought people had kind of forgotten about how good Thomas Partey is when he's playing with us. Jorginho's done a really good job, but I think Thomas Partey was like, you think this guy's good, I'm going to show you what good is. And maybe game state plays a little bit into it because when Jorginho was playing, we were kind of 0-0. We were kind of trying to grind through Everton to try to find a goal. But I just feel like all these like pressure and stuff just went right out of my body when Thomas Partey came onto the pitch, because he just has a level of authority to the way that he plays where people don't even try him. They don't even try. They just give up, and I love that. And so he also should have had an assist, and he almost had a pre-assist as well. We had a really good move that I think, what did it end with? It was such a great little move that Thomas Partey, it was like a little stab ball into Ødegaard, and then Ødegaard found, I think, Martinelli or something. Like, I have to rewatch it, but it was such a nice move, and we should have scored from that. And then he had the floaty ball into Eddie Nketiah, where Eddie should have put that away. And so he's still top 2 DMs in the league. He just is. And having Jorginho doesn't change that. But Jorginho, allows for Thomas Partey to get fully fit before we have to play him again. And so, yeah, I thought he had a really, really good second half. A lot of people had him as a man of the match. I didn't have him as that, but I would say a solid 8.5 performance from Thomas Partey in that second half. Let's see what you guys were saying. Daniel says Partey, when he came on, was class 8. Jorge says Thomas the Tank. BroPro says, yeah, that ball to Eddie was nice. Sin says Onana non-existent due to Partey. They just stopped, because Thomas Partey just doesn't, you just don't want to even have to deal with him. Rick says, I didn't know Partey had that clip ball over the top in his locker, presence in the middle of the park. 8. I think people get Thomas confused. When he first, last season, he did a lot more of the dictating of play, and he was more responsible for the balls in between the lines. Remember, a lot of the balls that he was playing into Lacazette, he was doing a lot more of that. This season, he's a little bit more retracted. He kind of goes into the back line. He does a lot more sweeping, and he kind of plays the balls out wide to Saka or Martinelli or whatever and just keeps things ticking along. But he has a really good passing range. And so it's not a matter of can he do it, it's just does he do it all the time? And what is Arteta asking him to do? I don't think we have to have him doing it, but he has those balls in his locker for sure. Armin says Partey 8.5. How he controls the game is amazing. Ivy says that was like total football. He showed that we can destroy a low block with our killer passes in the final third. Exactly. Absis says he made that second half look so simple. 8 for Partey. It just felt like he was cruising, and most of the time it feels like he's cruising, which I think is a sign of a really, really good player. BroPro says Partey got an 8. No one can touch him. It's just different, it's just a different vibe. But it's not to take anything away from Jorginho, but I just like that we have two really good options now, and our depth is really helping us through this period. So yeah, good performance from Thomas Partey. Now let's talk about the guys up top. So we'll start off with Gabriel Martinelli. 2 goals. Looking more like himself, having Trossard in the team playing through the center. No surprise that has kind of brought Martinelli back to life a little bit. Martinelli has 11 goals this season, I believe, which is outstanding for him. And obviously, Saka has 10 goals as well, and he has like 9 assists. But Martinelli is having an exceptional season and showing his quality. And even in a difficult period, he was still scoring goals. So I think he had a really good game. Probably could have had another goal. Probably could have had a hat trick today. But what I loved about the first goal that he scored was that I think often we don't capitalize and punish teams enough for the mistakes that they make. So often when we make a mistake at the back, playing the ball out of the back or playing in possession, we are punished so harshly for those mistakes. And today we did the opposite to Everton. Idrissa Gueye was just, I don't know what he was doing on the ball, but Saka kind of put some pressure onto him. And instead of Martinelli just, not being alert to it, he's 100% alert to it and puts the ball in the back of the net so it could be looked at on VAR, and we get the decision and we get the second goal, and the game is pretty much done from there. And so those type of scrappy goals are just as important as the beautiful ones. Taking advantage of teams making mistakes, we have got to capitalize on it and put them in the dirt. And I think Martinelli did a really good job at that. Second goal was nice. I mean, just a really good game for Martinelli, and I think we need him firing on all cylinders in the second half of the season, because I felt like we had lost him a little bit, but Trossard is really helping unlock him again. And so, yeah, for me, Martinelli, I mean, you can't really get away from it. He was my man of the match, but I gave him a 9.5. I mean, he was just a typical Martinelli game, all end product, and that's what you need. Daniel says Martinelli was involved with the first goal, drifted to the right, instinctive and a destroyer, a beast 9. Absis says Martinelli is man of the match, 9.5. I agree. Sir Nicholas says Trossard and Martinelli switch in and out together so seamlessly. It's great. He's building those relationships. Mikel was talking about his relationship with Fabio Vieira as well as Trossard is getting stronger. And, Trossard is still learning his teammates. And so those little combinations will get better and better as time goes on. Leslie says Martinelli is Arsenal's best player. Oh, wow. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, hey, he had a great game today. Carol says 9 is fair for Gabby. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Rick says can't ask for much more from Martinelli, to be honest. Joint man of the match with Saka for me, a 9. Glenn says 100% agree. We must be more ruthless sometimes. I mean, if you look at how Man City dealt with us when we made those mistakes, even though we're ahead of Man City right now, I still look at some of the things that they do that I'm like, we could definitely get better at. and that's one of them. When teams make mistakes, we have got to punish them, put them in the dirt. And it also demoralizes teams sometimes when they make mistakes like that. It's like, damn, so I'm glad that we were able to do that. Let's see. Saturdays equals youth says, I was losing patience with Martinelli, but he's back. And that's the thing, is like a lot of people are like, oh, we're all the Martinelli haters now. I think there are some people that take it too far and went as far to say like Martinelli's not like a great player. And you know how some people just take it too far. But I do think it was a relevant, not criticism, but a relevant observation that Martinelli was not up to his usual self and something needed to change. And he was dropped. So people that are like, where are you guys that say Martinelli should be dropped? He was dropped. And then we started playing Trossard through the middle, and now he's back on form. So I think everybody, the criticism and also, the what do we need to do to get him back on track, that was all relevant, at the time. But Martinelli is a spectacular player, and all players go through dips in form. There's nothing wrong with talking about it, but sometimes I feel like we're so reluctant to even talk about it because everybody takes it so personally. But Martinelli is exceptional, and that's why we have high expectations of him. And when he's out of form, we start talking about it because we want to know how to get him back. Olu says he was a shot monster, let him shoot. Sin says he's just not that good out on the wing. He does need to be closer in so we can get the best from him. Tony says, agree. We haven't been able to punish mistakes as well as other teams. Kevy Kev says that drop was for his own good. He's taken it very well for a 21-year-old. I agree. So Martinelli definitely was man of the match for me. Now moving to Trossard, another really good game from him. He got another assist. So we're getting good end product from Trossard. Really good January signing for us. I think obviously the switching positions with Martinelli was really working for us. I thought he had some nice touches. I would have liked to see more shots maybe from Trossard, but we struggled a lot in the first 30 minutes. We did not have a shot on goal, and we did not look like scoring in those first 30 minutes. So I understand that there wasn't a lot of opportunities for him to like kind of get his shots going and stuff like that. But towards before he came off and stuff like that for Eddie, you can see him really getting, into the groove with his teammates. And like I said, he already got the assist. And so it's going to be hard to get him out of the team now. I think if you're Eddie and Nketiah, you're looking at that like, oh shit, this player, not only does he help Martinelli, but he's doing his thing too. And so, yeah, for me, like Trossard against Bournemouth keeps the shirt. But yeah, what a good signing he has been. So I'm going to give Trossard an 8.5. Just want to see more shots from him because we know that when he shoots, he scores. You know what I mean? So good game from Trossard all around. Rick says 7.5 wasn't much of a goal threat, but good link up play around the box today. Daniel says Trossard, is quality 8.5. What a player we signed there. DZ says Martinelli is unplayable, and he was never off form either. Martinelli never lost form. He 100% lost form. There's no way around it. It's a fact. You're wrong. Sorry. Abscess says, what a shrewd signing. Trossard is 8. Rick says Trossard 7.5 wasn't much of a goal threat, but oh yeah, you already said that. Let's see. Talib says 8. Hugo says better than Mudryk. Winky face. Yeah. He's been very, very good for us. Kevy Kev says Trossard 8, my favorite player at the moment. That's nice. Boy says 8 for Trossard. Sin says 7 needs to get on the score sheet. So yeah, more shots for Trossard would be good, but we really kind of struggled in those first 30 minutes. So can't really blame him there. But once the team started getting going, he started getting going more, and getting the assist is important because it's a goal contribution. So can't be mad at that. Obviously, we have to talk about Saka. Sorry, you guys, it got a little bit glitchy. Obviously, we have to talk about Starboy Saka. What else is there to really say about this player? I think one of the things that stood out to me, Saka this season, is that his goals have mostly been like very important goals for Arsenal. And what I mean by that is he's not stat padding. Like they're either goals to go ahead or goals to go level, big penalties, lots of goals against the big six. Just very important goals. And he is our talisman. He is our franchise player. He is our guy. He is that guy for us. And I think he had another really good game today. The goal that he scored. Remember when Saka didn't have a right foot? There was a time where like Saka didn't have a right foot. And this season, I can't remember how many goals, but I remember the goal that he scored against Leeds and the goal today, slammed into the roof of the net with his right foot. And you could just tell he's getting better and better and better. You also see he has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, which I really like. He's not letting people just push him around. And I mean, 10 goals and 9 assists for Saka this season already. That's astounding, for somebody that a lot of people didn't think was going to be anything but a left back. And so, yeah, like I run out of words to describe Saka. I run out of flowers to give him, because every single week it just feels like he's proving to be that player for us. And if at the end of the day we end up winning the Premier League, he will have led us there. The amount of games that he plays, the amount of minutes that he plays, the amount of important goals he gives us, the amount of kicking that he takes, he is that guy for us. And I'm so happy that he's signing a new long-term contract, because like the only reason why he doesn't get the same level of love that other players do is because he plays for Arsenal. But he's going to be a big part in taking Arsenal back to the top, where people can no longer ignore the club. So for me, Saka gets a 9. He's just our little Chili. Like, I just love him. I just love him. Wayne says it's almost like he's overcompensating with his right foot by blasting it. Definitely in a good way, though, because it ended up in the roof of the net. Tony says wrong foot, top bins, near post. Literally my favorite type of goal. Second goals like that of the season. Saka is his own level. Olu says 10. He is world-class. First goal or assist always. Absis says I don't have words for Saka. 9. Exactly. It's like I just run out of things to say, because it's just every single week. It's just great. Shang says Saka 9. John P says 9.5 for Saka, has 10 goals, and all of them big goals, either in the opener, an opener or equalizer. The guy is a beast. I'm giving him a 10. F it, pure clutch. Bro Pro says 9.5. Talib says Saka is a 10.5. I love that. Boy says 9 for Saka. He's vital. And he's probably the best winger in the world. He's up there. Leslie says Saka 8.5. Sin says 10. Saka difficult game, but he didn't lose focus. I can't disagree with anything you guys are saying. I mean, he's absolutely sensational, right? Bro Pro says Saka's always surprised us, even to this day. Kiro says arguably the man of the match. I mean, the significance of the goal would, I think, give him a good, like you could say that he is man of the match, because the significance of that goal, especially, we did not look like scoring before that. It literally felt like it came out of nowhere. But I think I just have to give it to Martinelli, because he scored 2 goals. But I mean, if you gave it to Saka, I would not complain. Travis says, I just want Saka to get better at finishing with both feet. He is strong, technical, few more moves in the bag, and he'll be unstoppable. The Bang says, Saka 9. I love his mentality. That's what's going to make him an Arsenal and world football legend. That's a big part of why he is the way that he is. We know he has a fantastic mentality. There's 200 of you guys in here, so make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel as we wind down. We're just going to do some quick ones really quick. Obviously, Fabio Vieira came in. I thought he made a good account of himself. He had some good moments and good passes. The one thing I would say is that I felt like when he got into the box, he got a little bit nervous and wanted that goal and was trying to overplace it, just smash the ball into the back of the net. But I thought he's getting closer and closer to, I think, starting games for Arsenal. He's going to be super important for the Europa League because even looking at Smith Rowe, you can tell that it's going to take him a little bit of time to get like up to speed. And so we're not going to be able to rely upon him right away. But a player that we probably will rely upon heavily in the Europa League is going to be Fabio Vieira. And for me, I want him to start against Bournemouth. I think with Thomas Partey back kind of like in the fold, you could start with Fabio Vieira and get him some minutes. But I thought he made a good account of himself. So I'm going to give him a 7. I think Fabio Vieira was fine. Just want him to, when he gets into the final third, when he gets into the box, just slam it in the back of the net. You don't have to overly place it. And Kedia, I thought, had a good assist for the final goal. I think it was. He was, lively. I really think he should have put the chance away for the Thomas Partey clip ball in behind, but he was okay. So I'll give him a 7 as well. And Emile Smith Rowe, don't really have much to say just because like Emile Smith Rowe and Tierney, I could almost really give them both like, standard 6.5, kind of scores because I thought they didn't get a lot of minutes. They didn't really do much, but I was just happy to see them get minutes. So, it was an all-around team performance. I think the only player that I was kind of surprised that didn't come in was Tomiyasu. But yeah, it was fine. Like it was fine. Rick says, I really like Fabio Vieira, bags the talent there, and his final ball reminds me of Ozil's, just need to work on his general play. Kevy Kev says, Eddie fluffed his line, 6. John says, well done, the Gunners, keep up against the top teams and we'll do it. No bother. Sir Nicholas says, Arsenal win and Tottenhamsters do what they do. Great night. Kevy Kev says, 100% start Vieira in the next game. I agree. Leslie says Vieira is a bit light. Fabrizio says, I wonder if Vieira will be used as a left center mid for the long term or go back to right center mid, right wing. I just think he's going to kind of fill in where he's needed in the short term, but I think we'll learn a lot more about Fabio Vieira when he's playing in the Europa League a little bit more. But right now he can play any of those positions. I would love to see him start against Bournemouth. And for people that are saying he's light, he really has like worked on his physicality. You can tell he's not getting as thrown around. It's just a matter of him calming his mind down when he gets into the box and putting it in the back of the net. But I don't think he's as lightweight or as much of a pushover as he was before when he was playing in those Europa League matches. But I hear you guys. Olu says Ødegaard and Vieira midfield looks tasty. Vinicius says we need Jesus for the big games. He'll be back soon. Bro Pro says Smith Rowe a bit mad, to be honest, but yeah, good to see him ease into the first team rhythm again. I mean, he had surgery. It's going to take him a while to get back into it. Carol says Nketiah is so frustrating to watch sometimes. I mean, yeah, he has to put those chances away, doesn't he? But it didn't cost us today. So, it is what it is. But all right, you guys, that is going to be it for the player ratings. I think we got everybody, but I just wanted to pop on because we never really do after, game stuff or immediately right after. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow we'll do another show, obviously, because we're gearing up for the weekend again because we have to play Bournemouth. But yeah, make sure you guys smash the likes. If you guys are new, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.